Alright, devlog for December 2023, the new year of 2024. This devlog is going to be back to my usual style of devlogs, because the other style of devlogs that I did for the last few months were kind of like a failure, because first of all, I made those because I thought they were going to take less time to make than these random just me talking over some footage. I mean, I'm actually playing live, but yeah, those don't work. They take actually more time than just doing a little recording like this. The second reason why they don't work is that the YouTube algorithm absolutely hates them. My old devlogs occasionally did go into the algorithm, and occasionally I got like 20 to 30, maybe even 40 views on a devlog, and those videos are basically, the YouTube algorithm just says no, those aren't, we don't send those out on the algorithm. So we're going back to this type of devlog. I also don't have really a lot to show because I basically didn't do anything in December. I had an extremely busy December. I basically honestly did not really feel well. I'm basically on the edge of a burnout, and I had to take a break for December from pretty much anything that is other than my work. Work on like my actual job, not like work on this. So obviously I had to continue doing my actual job, but all of my like hobbies and stuff, those all went on a break for December. But I will be returning in January. I still have 1 week of vacation left, and I will be spending that vacation picking up development for what's now called Slingshot Protocol. This will be the first devlog that is no longer speed kills. So the first thing I will be fixing is these portals. This has been on my to-do list for a very long time, and I will finally try and make these portals seamless, and I will also try and make them work with the AI. And once that's done, that's basically the last programming hurdle that is to overcome. After that is done, all programming is pretty much done. What I did do in early December, one of the last things I was able to do before I went on a break on all of my hobbies, is I completely redid how enemy attacks works. So enemy attacks now actually use a class system. So if I go to speed kills, I can go to Sky components, AI components. So the way attacks used to work by basically just, they used to be done with procedural programming, and I now use object-oriented programming for it. So originally all of the attacks were in one single class, and it basically just had switch statements that switched between different attack patterns. The problem is that got very bloated. That class got insanely bloated, and honestly I just didn't like it anymore. I think I had some remains in that's commented out. So yeah, all of this stuff, this is how attacks used to work. Like it used to switch between different attack styles, it used to call different functions. And every time when I had to add a new attack, I had to make a new function, link that function to the switch statement, and it was just terrible. So yeah, all of this that is commented out here, that has all been moved to separate classes. So SK attacks, these are all of the separate attacks that enemies can do. So the way it works is these attacks basically just get linked to the AI component of an enemy, and then they basically get called and executed. So all attacks are now subdivided in classes, and that works so much better. I am very happy that I did this. It did take a long time to fix this. It's probably like a week of work, but it was kind of like the biggest reworks are still left. So I still have 2 reworks remaining. One rework that is remaining is an inventory system, which isn't going to be that difficult. Like it's not going to have an actual inventory that you can like access, but it's more like a optimization of code in it's not really an optimization of code, it's more like an optimization of workflow. So if I go to SK pawn, actually I go to the header file. I have a lot of like this. So inventory basically. I have an inventory for keys, I have an inventory for medpacks, an inventory for grenades. And every time when I want a new type of inventory, like a new item that I need to track on my character, I have to like add it like a new item and then register that item and everything, and that's just terrible. So what I want to do is I want to make an inventory class that just can dynamically add items based on a string base, basically. So it will just basically add like a string like inventory dot add. Actually, I would probably call it give. And then I don't know, like give you would call it like a grenade. And then obviously I would not do it like this. I would have a define in inventory grenades, and then I would do it like this. So I would then give like something, and then I would probably also have like a number that you can give, like give 4 grenades. And then if I want to check if a character has grenades, I can do like inventory dot has inventory grenades, and then like check how many, like does he have 2 grenades or something. And then I can do like, if I'm using them, I can do like inventory dot remove. You get the point. So yeah, that type of inventory, this is actually honestly not very difficult to make. So that's also something I still would want to add. Another thing that I would want to change, and that's the last thing I would on the reworks, and after that the code base is really good. Like the one thing that still bothers me about the code base is same thing. This is the same actually concept for audio components. I'm just trying to find it. Escape pawn audio components. So the way audio components work is like they all have, so these audio components are bound to a pawn, and when the pawn has like a specific event, it will call a specific sound. So for example, death sounds, it will call one of the death sounds if the pawn dies. So in the pawn death logic, there is a link to the audio component that says like, hey, play one of the death sounds. The problem is that whenever I want to add a new type of sound, I would have to like basically copy, like, I don't know, I want to add a sound where someone, I don't know, someone says Happy New Year. So then I would have to say like, okay, I don't know, I would have to copy paste this, add a new variable that says like Happy New Year sounds. You get the point. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing for inventory that I did with this, where it is, instead of having like a big list of different types of sounds, I would just add one big list that has a dynamic entry where you can dynamically add and request sounds. So I can do like, again, define pawn sound def, and then I can do like this register sound pawn sound def, blah 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 blah. And then I will probably be able to get like, yeah, you get the idea. It's the same thing with the inventory. But you just have a dynamic system that dynamically can add stuff and dynamically can request stuff. So I don't have to manually make a variable for every different type of sound. So that's basically the 2 remaining reworks I still need to do. And once that's done, I think the code base is really, really, really good. I once said that I gave the code base a 7. That has been before I did a lot of other reworks. I would say I now give it an 8. I'd say it's really pretty decent. And once those 2 reworks are done, I'd say it's a 9. I think it's a 9 out of 10 code base. I think it's really good. It's really fun to work with. It has been a lot more fun to work with. This is... So yeah, let's actually talk about the water. I've been talking too much about code. So the water system is one of the big things I've also added. I really want to add a water level, so I've added swimming. This wasn't too difficult to implement. It took some... Actually, the most difficult thing to implement was the post-processing effect, where you get a post-processing effect over your character when you jump into the water. That is something that was actually the most difficult thing. The physics stuff and the underwater movement, that was all pretty easy to... implement. Like the swimming stuff basically just uses the flying code. You're basically just flying underwater, and as soon as you go out of the water, yeah. I also have that like good source thing. It's very much like source. So when you're like close to an edge, it will detect that you're close to an edge, and will automatically jump out of the water. It's great. So swimming is done. Oh yeah, and you also move slower in water. So, and this is all needed for level 5. Level 5 will be a Lara Croft inspired level. It will, if you have ever played the original Lara Croft, it's like that water temple stuff. It's the working title for the map is actually Water Temple. So yeah, that gives you a rough idea what I want to do. Same actually goes for the portals. The portals I want to introduce completely in map 5, just like the water. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe I shouldn't implement 2 new gameplay mechanics in a single map. But on the other hand, like that. I want to implement the portals as quickly as possible. Maybe those go to map 6. I don't know. But yeah, basically that's that. And I think that's kind of like everything I want to say. So yeah, I will be working on new maps. I mean, I guess I can talk about the current state of map development. So the plan for the new year was to finish the alpha version of both map 4 and map 5. Yeah, that was honestly a ridiculous idea, and honestly I was never going to make that. Even if I didn't take a break in December, I would not have been able to make that, because in order to finish level 5 I would still need to add the portal logic, which is probably going to take half a month to implement. So map 4 is in alpha, so that one is pretty much done. I can play through it from beginning to end, but it still has a lot of missing pieces. But I can actually start work on map 5. Another thing I need to start working on is music. I need to make 2 new tracks for the 2 new maps I'm working on. And yeah, one of the things that I will say is going very well is the weapons. Weapons is something I have been keeping up pretty well. So the idea of the weapons is there are 3 different weapons for each weapon type, and I am almost done. I think I got 6 to 5 weapons left, and they aren't very difficult weapons to make. Like, the most time-consuming thing about weapons is actually making the reload animations. That's actually that's genuinely the most difficult thing. So whenever I make a weapon that doesn't have reload animations, like the new laser, so I will show the new laser. Like, this wasn't very difficult to animate because it doesn't have a complex reload animation. It basically just only has 2 animations. It has an animation for its primary fire and it has an animation for its secondary fire. And that explosion does a hell of a lot of damage. I do need to make a new effect for it, because right now that is a huge explosion radius and a massive amount of damage. It has to be a massive amount of damage because it takes a very long time to set this up. This is actually a problem a lot of first-person shooter weapons have, is they have a really convoluted way of doing damage, and the damage just ends up being pathetic. So this is probably one of the most powerful single-tick explosions there is in the game. I can think of so many weapons in other first-person shooters that are just not worth using because it takes way too long to set up, and the reward is like terrible. When your weapon takes a really long time and it'll take like multiple steps to get damage done, it needs to be a massive amount of damage. Because I have to first charge it, I have to make sure the ball is near an enemy, and then I have to charge this to shoot it. It's basically 3 steps. So when you have 3 steps, whereas most weapons just use 1 step, like the rocket launcher, I mean, 1 step, it goes boom, that's it. So yeah. That's kind of like my rant about other video games not understanding that the difficulty of a weapon should also represent how much damage it does. And I think I'll end it here, because if I make it too long then the YouTube algorithm also doesn't like it. So yeah, new year, I will be working on portals and the maps, and I will be picking up development again. Goodbye.